Hey YouTube, Cole here. Today we are going to be reviewing quite possibly one of my favorite figures that I've gotten in a long time. The Titan Class Legacy Generation Selects Black Zarak. Now before we get into this absolute behemoth of a toy, there's one thing that we have to do first. This guy is what you call a headmaster. Basically, the head pops off to become a separate robot. For example, this guy, his name is Ape Face. He is also a headmaster. So he can just take his head off. And, oh. There you go. The little headmaster. Now, for the transformation of this head, first thing you want to do is flare these out like this, so you can pull the sides. Untab this chest piece right here. And then take the legs and just unfold them out. Then you can bring these arms, well, what would become the arms, up. Bring this down. Bring down the chest. Get the arms out and pull out the hands. And just do the same to the other side. Now you're going to take these little panels and fold them up. And make sure the horns are straight so we can use them as arm blades. Now, here we have his big old headmaster. I forgot to mention that there's also this little back piece that you get from pulling this up to cover up the face. Now, anyways, this guy is a bit of a smaller dude. He is a deluxe class scale, meaning that he's probably the second smallest figure that you can get, which makes him really fun to mess around with. Now, to look at the detail, he has a giant gash in his chest, almost like he's been through war, which he pretty much has. His head also has an eye patch, because my headcanon for these guys is that this guy is a pirate king. That was what I used to think of this guy when I was a kid. Now, for posability. Head is on a kind of limited ball joint. And before I move on from that, the special thing about this head, his own head is yet another headmaster. Now this is Zarak. The rest of these bodies, they are nothing without this little guy. This guy, it controls everything. Well, you can still transform both of these without the head, but in the storyline, the headmasters are what controls the bodies. The bodies are nothing without it. So moving on to the articulation, arm moves out that far, 360 rotation, double bend at the elbow, the wrist goes in, but that's for the transformation. Now there is a waist swivel, thigh swivel, the legs can go forward that far, and they can also go back that far. And the knees can go forward and back. And the ankle has a pivot that goes really nice and far, so you can get them into some really nice poses. Now, if we tab this head right back in there, we will now be able to take a look at the big boy himself, Black is Zarak. The detail on this figure is unbelievable. The amount of paint and tiny details, the silver that's nice and reflective on the chest, his giant shoulder cannons just protruding out, his giant scorpion-like hands, which can actually hold entire figures, and some of the smaller details like the thrusters on the sides of his chest. First, let's look at his mighty accessory, his spear, which is almost as tall as he is. And something really fun is that if you have another figure, you can tab this hole onto them. So you just have a figure with a giant spear. But anyway, this spear is beautiful with all of its nice, subtle detailing. And it doesn't really plug in to the hand. It just slots in there pretty much. So you can put it however you want on either arm. Now down to the waist, he has a bunch of silver and some nice cyan blue. This is where the gold really comes in, with his feet and his shins. Now, something else that you can do is that if you take off some different parts, like this from the left leg, this piece from the right leg, tab these together, and take off one of his back plates, you can make a shield. Now this shield is really nice and wide, and you can tab it onto the arm. I don't know how good that's going to be on camera, but you can just boop, plug it on. You can also plug it in another way with these two holes, tabbing it in like that. And the pinchers pinch. Now we get to the posability of this guy. Now, the posability on this guy is really loud because all of the joints need to be strong enough to hold its pose when it has all of this weighty plastic on it. All right, now for his posability, his head can move side to side and up and down. The up is thanks to this little clip being removed. The turrets are on a nice swivel. The arm itself can move up. Now let me just fix that. The base of the arm can move outward and inward. The wrist can swivel. Now the arm can move up. This can open up, close up even more, or grab around it by moving this out. Now, the waist. This is where it starts to get hard to film this. The waist is on a nice smooth joint, which is also a swivel. The leg can move up that far and can move back that far. Right when I said that, the back came off. Let me just tab this back in. Stay in there. Stay in there. There we go. Now, the leg can move outward like that. Give a nice split. And can swivel around right at the thigh. It's nice and loud. Now, the knee has 2 joints. It has, let me just tap this back in. It has a joint right here and a joint right here. That's the first joint. That's the second joint. So you're going to need to kind of shift them around to get them standing straight. Now, his feet have a pivot, and the feet themselves can go in and out. Now, it's to this thing's transformation. Now, this is the transformation for Black Zarak into Scorpion mode. Now, this Scorpion mode is huge. So you can add the shoulder guns onto the Scorpion's arms. You break the shield into its previous pieces. You can plug them in to these almost bulky parts right here. And you plug this thing into the back of the Scorpion mode. I know you can't see it, but it's hard to show. Now the spear, it splits into 2, then 3. You add the stinger onto here, and you could plug these into the sides, just like so. And you're done. It's time for some size comparisons. This guy is really long and pretty short compared to his other mode. First off, we have Deluxe Class Skullgrin from Nana. We have this guy named Wheeljack, which is about the size of your toys, Finn, that you got for Christmas. We have one of my favorite figures of last year, Armada Megatron. We have Grapple, which is one of the figures that Aunt Jill and Uncle James got. And we have Perceptor from Nana and JJ. And last, but certainly not least, we have the Lego Optimus Prime from Gigi and Bopok. I still love this thing. Just so you can get a sense of scale, these guys go really well, and you could still hold other figures in his hands. Now this thing is huge and mighty. The head is just a pure red with purple eyes. The spear plugs in to make a stinger, which is awesome. And what makes it even cooler, these legs are individually articulated, and he can roll. Now, time for his second transformation. This is the transformation for the base mode of Black Zarak. Now this city mode, as it's called, is great. Comes with a little ramp for other figures to ride down. It has a nice throne for whoever you may choose. And it has little ramps to connect to other figures to make an even larger base. And this figure is extremely wide. You can also just place the head right in there, just for fun. We are for size comparisons with the base mode. Something that I feel like would really be great is that it's a perfect place for figures like yours, Finn, to battle on. So if you ever come over, be sure to bring your figures, because this is a perfect setup. Now it's time for size comparisons with the robot mode. First we have Wheeljack. We have Grapple. Armada Megatron, which is the average sized leader. We have the camera. Skullgrin. Some smaller guys, we have Core Class Megatron. Core Class Optimus Prime to go with your little Megatron. And, of course, Lego Optimus. Now, I hope you enjoyed this review. If anything, I will totally recommend this thing, especially if you find it on sale like I did. I was able to get it from Best Buy for about $90. And this thing is worth every cent. Love you all. Peace.